All right, let's go back to Joe Biden on CNBC. Here he is with
or
Mika.
MSNBC, one of the two.
MSNBC. Sorry.
Vice President, as it pertained to Dr. Ford, everyone wanted, high-level Democrats said she should be believed, that they believed it happened. You said if someone like Dr. Ford were to come out, the essence of what she is saying has to be believed, has to be real.
No.
Why?
No, what I said, it has to be.
Why is it real for Dr. Ford, but not for Tara Reade?
Because the facts are that, look, I'm not suggesting she had no right to come forward. And I'm not saying any woman, they should come forward. They should be heard. And then it should be investigated. It should be investigated. And if there's anything that is consistent with what's being said, and she makes the case or the case is made, then it should be believed. But ultimately, the truth matters. The truth matters. No. It's period. I fought my entire life to change the whole notion of the law and the culture around sexual assault. And I fought to strengthen and protect the process for survivors. I believe we've come a long way, and we have a long way to go in this system before we, in fact, are in a position that there's a fair and unbiased view. But at the end of the day, it has to be looked at. These claims are not true. There's no cooperation. I mean, they're not true.
I mean,
there's no corroboration.
Oh, well, there is corroboration. There's a lot of corroboration, but
there's much more than there was for Kavanaugh. Look, we're doing a special on Blaze, and we've invited Tara Reade. We haven't gotten a rejection. They're still under consideration for us, but we've invited Tara Reade to come on the broadcast next Wednesday night on Blaze TV. If she's on, I'll do a 2-hour special, and I will give her, a platform. I will ask tough questions because there are some inconsistencies in the story. Mm-hmm. I think I believe her, but there are some things that she would need to answer, and I don't think they're hard, but she would need to answer. There are some things that are inconsistent, and you should be aware of those things. I think, however, there's not enough to convict the man by any stretch of the imagination, which is why we should not be doing these kinds of things. However, there is enough to go, there might be something there. I mean, really compelling is the Larry King interview with her mom. That's really compelling.
Yeah. Now, again, that interview, to be fair to Joe here, as I'm sure he would be to us, there is never an accusation that she was assaulted in the video, right? Like she just says that something went wrong, and we already know she was an accuser of the hair sniffing type of activities that so many other women were around the country,
right?
So we don't know exactly what it is, and I do think
but we know two other people at the same time period, that said, I spoke to her. She was very emotional about it, and she described at that time. And what's credible to me is Blasey Ford you couldn't trust it because she was against any Senate or anybody coming into the Supreme Court that was conservative. Mm-hmm. And she had already set things up to stop any candidate. She was a political activist. Well, Tara Reade and her friends are political activists on the other side. They're for Joe Biden.
Yeah, some of them are. Yeah, she was a Bernie supporter, so at least left friendly.
Right.
I think too. You could look at this and say the Blasey Ford thing. I mean, like she couldn't even remember the location where it occurred. There's no evidence that they even ever met. Right,
Nothing.
She did work for Joe Biden, or Tara Reade. People do remember. Remember, it's not just the people who have come forward and said, "Hey, I do remember this assault." Other people in the office remember her just disappearing without an explanation.
Yeah, there was an intern that said that I remember her disappearing and that it was very weird.
Yeah,
that she just was gone.
Right,
and nobody talked about it.
Look, I don't know, I think you can look at this and say, you're right, Glenn, there's not enough evidence to convict. And I think there's plenty of reason to have doubt over these things. That being said, you can have that opinion if you're Joe Biden if you publicly denounce your previous comments about Brett Kavanaugh and you say that standard that I advocated for multiple years was wildly wrong, and now that I'm on the other side of it, I realize I screwed Brett Kavanaugh really badly with my comments. Like, that's what you need to do in this situation.
Can you imagine?
You can't withhold.
Can you imagine
both of those
if
things. Yeah.
Can you imagine if he said that though? His supporters would
go crazy.
Crucify him.
Absolutely,
They would go crazy.
He
on that.
couldn't say it, that is how ridiculous this is. You know, the standard they outlined for Brett Kavanaugh and have for many other people, particularly on the right, is so ridiculous. Ask anyone, any single person on earth could have this Tara Reade thing happen to them. Let's just say Tara Reade's completely lying for just a second because she didn't like how she got fired, because she thought she should have stayed, and she really loves Bernie Sanders. She's completely lying. What has she had to do to turn his entire life upside down? Find 3 people that would go along with a story? The main thing that she has is obviously at some point she also told her mom this story, and that's a pretty big moment here. But you don't need that call. That call is not what puts this over the edge. Just a couple of witnesses saying that you told them at the time is all you need to overturn someone's life. That standard is a major problem. It is not okay. It's got no connection to innocent until proven guilty. It's totally against our justice system, and that's the bigger problem here.
And I want the left. No, I want Democrats, average Democrats that are living in this country. I want you to know we are not condemning Joe Biden. We are holding exactly the same standard as we did with Kavanaugh. Somehow or another, you're going to have to figure out which one you believe. But there's not enough here to convict. In fact, I mean, when I say same standard, it was beyond understanding how that Kavanaugh thing happened because there was nothing there. But when it comes to Joe Biden, there is something there. But how are you ever going to find the truth? How do you know that we don't have anything from that time period? We've got nothing. Now, it's perfectly reasonable to say, you know what? We want to check into all records. You know, when they wanted everything, they got down to Brett Kavanaugh's boyhood calendar, and we can't go and look at Joe Biden's sealed documents. That's absolutely not right. It's just not right. I'm sorry, I don't accept that. At least from a guy who has been preaching this. But Democrats, you need to understand, for some of us, not all of us, but for some of us, we actually believe it. Alyssa Milano, she doesn't believe it. Rose McGowan, as crazy as she is, she does believe it. We believe it. We're on the opposite side. We want to believe people who have been assaulted, but you have to have evidence. And we urge you to go to the police. And I know it's really hard, but if something is happening, you've got to blow the whistle and document it at the time. You can't go back 30 years into a calendar and try to smear somebody or convict somebody who really actually did this. It's impossible. And all we're doing is destroying people. And our entire justice system, it recognizes that sometimes bad guys get away with it because we never want to do this and convict an innocent person. Even though that happens, we want to do everything we can so it doesn't happen. Well, Me Too has flipped this entirely on its head, and there is no innocence, especially if you are not in favor with the ruling class or the media or social media. And this is absolutely un-American. And Democrats, we are not convicting Joe Biden here. We think this is a sad result of what the left has done to America and honestly done to your party. We told you at the time, you think you're going to be free of this? We told you at the time, the left will eat you. Now, he might be guilty, But you could also say, is this the left and Bernie Sanders and their supporters that just hate the Democrats so much that they're trying to take him down? I don't believe that, but you could make that case. Facts matter.